the final battle begin!
Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity, where we talk about drinking culture, pop culture, and continue to talk about 80s cartoon culture. Joining me as always today is Kale.
Hello.
Brandon.
Hello, my people.
And Jim.
Hello, everyone.
So we have talked about 80s cartoons just a little bit over the last little bit, and I figured we would close things out since the cartoon themes have been kind of a big part of that by giving our top 5 cartoon themes. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to edit in more cartoon themes. If you want the more cartoon themes, go back and watch our other episodes. We've put tons of them in there or Google them, but no more cartoon themes in this particular episode. But before we talk music, we have to first talk about drinking because that's more important. You heard me. Drinking is more important than music. Kale, what are you having tonight?
I'm having a fine Anheuser-Busch product called Natural Ice.
Keeping it super classy. Brandon?
I found this tequila recipe, and I thought I had the ingredients for it, but it turns out I only had close to the ingredients for it. So it was supposed to be tequila, lime, and tonic. No, that's not right. Tequila, lime, and what's the Perrier?
Water?
Yeah, but like a carbonated water. What I had was tequila, lemon juice, and tonic, and a little bit of salt. And honestly, it's pretty good. I'm kind of happy with the way it turned out.
I bet it's probably better with tonic.
Brandon, you are not going to be the best bartender in the world. I just picture you bringing somebody a cocktail, just being like, we didn't have stuff, so this is kind of close, maybe?
It's pretty close.
I think you can turn that around to being the best bartender by you're like, this is the, I don't know, the Des Moines Manhattan.
I made this.
Brandon
special.
I realize you ordered a margarita, but I brought you a White Russian. So close.
I did something different.
It's also something you can drink that is cold. So almost the same thing.
Customer's always wrong.
Jim, what are you having?
Like Brandon, I didn't have all the ingredients to make what I wanted. I made myself a margarita. It's actually all right. I used some of my special margarita, special tequila from our tasting that I think finished in last place.
Who's counting though?
Right. So I think I didn't measure. I think I probably did like equal parts tequila, triple sec, splash of amaretto, a lot of lime juice, and a little bit of squirt because that's what I had. And it was flat, so it actually even tastes better.
If only somebody had done a video on how to make a great margarita.
I believe you said that before.
We could just go back and go through all the drinks that we just invented that weren't actual drinks.
I have decided to be uncreative, and I am going to have some Knob Creek. And this is actually the bottle that I bottled, one of the bottles that I bottled at the distillery. So you can tell because it's got my little initials on it.
So I feel like maybe you need to make your margarita, and I should make my faux margarita, and we should have like a public taste testing, not with the 4 of us, but like random people.
Well, here's the funny thing, and we're getting off on a brief tangent, but I think it's especially given, kind of what the channel's about and everything. There are definitely a lot of people that would not prefer my margarita. My margarita is made in sort of classical sense. Classical margarita is going to be 2 ounces of your tequila, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 1 ounce of an orange liqueur. Preferably a Cointreau or Salerno is quite good too. I don't really like triple sec because it's too sweet. But for a lot of people, they would have that cocktail and find that it's too dry or perhaps too alcohol-y. And they would much prefer something made with a margarita mix, which to me, margarita mix is the worst thing I can imagine.
So I'm in between. I can't do a margarita mix. It looks like, I don't know, coolant fluid for my car.
Well, and I just did an episode recently comparing canned margaritas versus actual margaritas, and most of them are okay, but probably too sweet. And then one of them, the one that's made here in Iowa, tastes like old sheets, which is not a compliment in any way.
Doesn't sound like it.
I've never, gotten off of a hard day of work and been, God, I wish I could have something that tastes like unwashed sheets from like a boarding house. Like 3 different people have slept on before they were going to the wash.
So you kind of liked it.
It was not a good cocktail, and not really a cocktail anyway. But anyway, so today we're gonna talk about our top 5 80s cartoon themes. We talked about a lot of 80s cartoons over the past month or so. Kale, you are right there. So let's start off with you. What is your number 5? And by the way, right before we give our number ones, we'll talk about a couple of honorable mentions. I have a couple of actual categories of honorable mentions in this case, but why don't you start off and tell us what your number 5 favorite 80s cartoon theme is?
Well, this was really hard. A lot of strong contenders, but the ones I picked, I think they were all popular because they're very catchy. So my number 5 is Inspector Gadget.
Never heard of it. I think Brandon has Inspector Gadget sitting in front of his camera right there.
Yeah. Go Brandon's microphone.
Sorry.
No, that's a good one.
Inspector Gadget's on my list.
On my list as well.
It is not on my list, but I'm doing a weird list, so disregard my not having it on there. Did anybody else have Inspector Gadget as number 5?
Well, I didn't put mine in a specific order at first. And I honestly thought we were doing 10. So I just went and I actually started, like I said to you guys earlier, I had like 17 options here to pick from. So I whittled it down, and that ended up being number 5.
Well, I figured for the people watching, if we've, 4 of us are giving top 5 lists, that means they have 20 to choose from. And I think that's probably, kind of plenty to keep people there. Yeah, no, it's a great theme. To be honest, I like the theme way better than I like the cartoon. I thought the cartoon got really formulaic, and I feel like if you watch the cartoon long enough, you really start to hate Inspector Gadget for just being like an incompetent asshole. Like what if James Bond just had to have his daughter come in and just like bail him out every other mission? And his dog.
That'd have been interesting. At least
his
once.
dog is smarter than he is.
Right.
A good song.
So Inspector Gadget was my number 2 song. I thought it was, for the 80s songs, it was up there.
All right. Go ahead. So I'm sorry.
Well, Brandon said it was on his list too, and Jim just said, well, it was his number 2. Does Brandon want to reveal what his was?
I'm sure he will when he's on camera.
I mean, we can kind of, if we're going to have duplicates.
I'm pretty sure I don't have duplicates of anybody because I've done something kind of weird with my list.
So I have
Jim,
more than 5, so I'm going to fill in with ones that didn't make my top 5 if there's duplicates.
Well, let's do. Oh, yeah, definitely do that. So Inspector Gadget is no longer your number 2. He's going to be one of your honorable mentions.
There you go.
Well, why don't you go ahead and give us your number 5?
G.I. Joe, a real American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
But where?
It's, right. It's not very
Where
long.
is he? They always say he's there. Is G.I. Joe omnipresent?
He better be, because Cobra is.
Just one guy, though. G.I. Joe is the force.
Cobra is there.
What was that?
That's a Firefly.
Oh, okay.
Not the DC Firefly.
No, the Cobra Firefly.
And not the Fox Firefly.
Exactly. I think it's interesting that they worked in G.I. Joe fighting terrorists in the theme. They give kind of a good. I noticed there were some of the cartoons gave kind of a synopsis of what the show is in the song, or kind of a voiceover to the song, which I appreciated.
I am going to go on record here, because this is on the record, and say that I think it's fine when the cartoon when the theme song is giving a synopsis, but I think it has to be in song and it can't be in voiceover, because voiceover, it's a little lazy.
Well, then G.I. Joe is a little lazy, because I think they did that.
Well, G.I. Joe's half and half. Like it's half that and half like a pretty good theme song.
G.I. Joe is a blah 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 organization.
But they also sort of
Trying to
did
fight
like
Cobra.
G.I. Joe fighting Cobra the enemy. So they kind of like did it in song too.
They did.
They probably could have cut out the voiceover, to be honest.
No, the voiceover is pretty serious, and fighting terrorists, serious business, even in a cartoon.
But I mean, like the G.I. Joe theme and the Transformers theme are kind of the same, not the same. They don't, but they're like similar. But like the Transformers theme didn't do voiceover.
I'm trying to remember if it did or not. I don't think so, but
I don't think it did.
I noticed listening to the themes that if I was watching a clip where they had the end credits often had the theme without the words, and there were some of them that I liked a lot better without the words.
Well, like in my efforts to try to narrow this list down, I was going through and listening to them too. And I actually wrote down quite a few of them, not because I knew them all that well or because I particularly enjoyed the song. I just had to give credit where credit was due. These guys really tried. They had actual artists come in and do a good job on this theme. And yeah, there's parts where like the guy's just singing, he's a robot and he fights bad guys or whatever, just basically explaining whatever the characters do. But I mean, it was done so well. They put so much effort into it that I felt like, okay, you deserve a spot.
Fair enough. And I think we all have kind of our own criteria. Mine is going to be a little different, but I'll explain in a minute. Brandon, why don't you give us your number 5?
Chippendales Rescue Rangers. I think I ended up going along with ones probably kind of the same as Kale, as ones that I could still remember. Not even like all the words to, but kind of the main tune and how it goes. And Chippendale's just one of those easy ones.
It's a good theme. Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say I feel like I watched a fair amount of it. I did not remember the theme, and the theme was actually really quite good.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a big fight between Ducktales and Chippendales Rescue Rangers. I'd probably tip in the favor of Ducktales, but they're both pretty good. So my list, I want to preface my whole list by saying
You didn't get Brandon's.
we literally just did. That's why we were talking about Chippendales Rescue Rangers.
Are you having a seizure?
Kale, we're recording a show right now.
Where are we?
I know. So my list is kind of weird. First of all, I'm basing this totally on just liking the theme song. This has nothing to do with whether I like the cartoon or not. In fact, spoiler alert, only 2 of the cartoons on my list that I watch even close to regularly, and only one of them what I would call really regularly. I just think some cartoons have some badass theme songs, and maybe I didn't have to like the cartoon that much. So my number 5 is Gem and the Holograms, because that had, first of all, it's not only a great cartoon theme song, it's a great 80s cartoon theme song. It is like glamorous and sort of drapey clothing and just like super 80s clothing, and like they've got like the villainous band, which is the Misfits, which I find strange because there actually is a punk band called the Misfits, but we probably talked about that when we talked about the show. And like that band like talks over the theme song a little bit. No, it's a fantastic theme song. Did you guys watch Gem and the Holograms at all? I watched like maybe a couple episodes.
I did not. I think I skipped over that when I was prepping for the show.
Wow, Gem's a great theme. Just a great theme.
I don't even remember it. Like, I couldn't tell you it was Saturday morning or anything. I don't even remember. Was it cable?
I'm pretty sure not. Kale, what about you?
Never watched it. I'm sure that it had a rockin' 80s theme. And that's kind of what I was going through too. I was like, what I was saying earlier, like, okay, this really fits what we're looking for, but it's not one that I enjoyed, but I'll give it credit. So that's why I'm glad you mentioned honorable mentions.
Oh, well, I've got some honorable mentions too, but no, I think it was just great. So apparently it was the inclusion of music videos. Oh, so they did music videos in Gem, and it was because of MTV. Sorry, I was confused on that. So there's a bunch of songs that they did. I'm trying to figure out what network it was on. But
Wait a minute. MTV played music videos?
At one time in the long forgotten past, they actually played music videos. They also did a Gem comic book, which is quite good. It has very good art.
Are you guys old enough to remember Friday night videos?
On MTV?
No, like on I think NBC. It was like
NBC.
It was like pre-MTV. They played music videos on network TV late on Friday night.
I am not familiar with that one.
Young Pops.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to check to see.
Alan Parsons Project. Good stuff.
Did he ever finish that? Because I feel like the Alan Parsons Project came out, but I don't know if
I think the project's unfinished. I think
it's like the work on 235. It's like the project, but it just keeps going and going.
It's a legacy project. I think we can all lend a hand.
I just picture like eventually they just come out and be like, we finally finished it. The Alan Parsons Project, we got it all done with.
What was the IPTV Saturday lineup? That was like Red Green. Are you being served in Red Dwarf?
Red Dwarf is still incredibly on.
And
like they don't come out with seasons every year, but they do still come out with Red Dwarf.
Yeah,
season.
Doctor Who is on there.
Which I'm still watching, honestly. I'm still watching the stuff from the 70s and the 80s.
I actually got I'll do a plug for BritBox, because BritBox you can watch, all of the Doctor Who's. And I think I'm just I took a brief like 3-year hiatus, but I got up to the Tom Baker era. I was just getting ready to get into Tom Baker, so that was kind of interesting.
That's what I'm watching right now.
He was a heck of a guy. Anyway, we're off of Gem and the Holograms and its incredible theme, and we're on to Kale. And what is your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a Half Shell. Turtle Pop.
I am going to take a page out of Jim's book and move Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from my list over to an honorable mention, because TMNT was definitely on my list. And I'll move one of my honorable mentions into its particular spot. By the way, talk about the idea of telling the story totally in song. And they did it. Like, you knew everything you needed to know about that show just from the theme song. Okay, this is the personality of the 4 turtles. Splinter's the mentor, Shredder's evil, and that's all you need to know. And they tell it all to you in a great theme song.
Yeah. It's catchy. It's easy to follow.
Love it. No notes.
It's my number 3.
There you go. It's just, I don't know. I feel like when you can do multiple things with something, that's kind of impressive than just doing one thing with the thing.
Jim's not saying anything. I think he could have used more cowbell.
More cowbell.
Well, and how long has it been? And we still know the words.
Well, I think it was like 87 to 90, whatever. Watch the original episode. We talked about it more then. It's super solid. Great voice acting and just, I don't know, just the theme song. Like I said, being able to tell a story and write a good theme at the same time is really solid. Brandon, what is your number 4?
Well, I feel like I'm probably going to keep following Kale this whole time. My number 4 was his number 5. Now I kind of forget what that was.
Inspector Gadget?
Inspector Gadget, yeah.
Give us another one.
I mean, it's a number. My number 4 is Inspector Gadget, and my number 3 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow.
I know we didn't really consider The Simpsons to be, but I mean that one could be on there as well. But
I'll allow it.
I think it's fair. It was on some of the lists that I looked at.
No, it was an 80s cartoon. It was very late 80s. And I think it just wasn't the same market. It was, sort of focused on family.
It was a primetime show, not a morning show.
Well, yeah.
Originally on the Tracy Ullman show.
Yeah.
But again, its theme song is unforgettable.
Very much. Jim, what is your number 4?
Transformers.
I hear they're more than meets the eyes.
It's
Or
more
eye.
than meets the eyes. I just really like the music. A lot of the ones that I chose had music that got used in the episodes, and I feel like Transformers, G.I. Joe fit in that theme where they use some of the musical elements in the episodes themselves.
I don't know if I like I don't know if I like Transformers better than G.I. Joe, but I do like the Transformers theme better than the G.I. Joe theme.
Yeah, so like I said, some of them I listened to not just the intro, but like the end credits where they just played the music, and I like the Transformers music a lot better than G.I. Joe music. So that put it over the top for me over G.I. Joe. I also like the kind of crazy faux robot voice that they use in the intro. More than meets the eye.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to sound ridiculous.
That synth voice? Is that the synth?
Don't worry, I did it for you.
Okay, so my number 4 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because it is a great theme and I love it. But I'm replacing it for the purposes of this list and including one of my honorable mentions. Another one of the the first of the weird shows that I like, that I sort of think is interesting and had a great theme, and that is Inhumanoids. The Inhumanoids is kind of bonkers. It's about a bunch of guys that wear these suits that drive trucks to go under the earth to fight monsters that live under the earth. So it's just
Did they say all that in the theme song?
They kind of do, and the theme song is 40 seconds long.
The toys were bonkers too. Have you gone back and like looked at the toys for that? They have.
I included it in one of our intros.
Like an entire line of gigantic monster toys.
Well, that's because imagine the Inhumanoids is basically like G.I. Joe style figures have sort of G.I. Joe style vehicles, but they're fighting like the equivalent of like 18-inch swamp monsters. Like Jack Kirby kind of esque old 1950s monsters. And the theme song is really great. They're just like Inhumanoids. It's just, I don't know, it's great. And the concept is great. And the show probably wasn't any good, but I don't know, it looked great.
I don't know if I like the concept because you said these guys go underground to fight these monsters. So it's like they're going out of their way. It's like they went, hey, there's monsters down there.
Well, I think the monsters sometimes invade the surface of the earth. I don't know. I don't really understand anything about the show. But like it's one of those things, you watch the theme song and you're just like, I have to watch this. Like this is bananas. There's like a big yellow thing that looks kind of like Godzilla, like eating a truck, and you're like, okay, I'll give you 2 episodes. Like, how could I not?
It just seems like they're going out of their way, is all I'm saying.
Well, it was the 80s. Everybody was destroying the environment. It was a trend.
Leave the monsters in peace.
Yeah, if you're going to them, then you're the invaders.
Or you're the Inhumanoids. Anyway, enough on Inhumanoids and their amazing theme song. Kale, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Heathcliff. And
no one should terrorize the neighborhood.
If you don't know what that song is, just go look it up on YouTube. And I don't care what music you're into, just listen to that theme, and you'll be like, "Oh,
it's super catchy.
It'll make you happy."
There was like the Hep Cats, and there was the was he Riff Raff. Riff Raff was like the cool cat that like lived in the garbage dump, and he had like a car that he took his girlfriend out in, and I don't know. Yeah, it was a great show and great theme song. Another good one at sort of explaining the show in song without having to resort to voiceovers, which I respect very much. So I don't know. Brandon, Jim, do you watch Heathcliff?
Did not watch
Heathcliff. It's actually not on my list, so we part there, Kale. But
yeah, Brandon is very disappointed in you.
It was a good show. It just didn't make my top theme list.
I was partial. I was partial to Garfield. I felt like Heathcliff was kind of cheating, so I never watched Heathcliff.
I'll tell you what, though. Here's the thing: if you just take Garfield versus just Heathcliff, Garfield probably wins. But if you put U.S. Acres in versus Riff Raff and the other like Alley Cats or whatever they were, then I think Heathcliff might have the advantage.
You really took this to the next level. Good work.
I think about deep things.
You
I think
thought-
about like deep, important things. You know, some people don't think about. It's not that big of a deal.
You know, I was thinking about. No, never mind. We'll move.
Brandon, you already had your number 3 taken. Would you like to talk about another thing that you could toss into your number 3 spot?
Well, if I were to just replace it off the fly, I guess I could go with DuckTales. DuckTales is also really good. Very memorable. I can still picture at least a quarter of the animation to the entrance. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those ones where you can tell like there's production value. Like they hired people and like they had studio space and shit. Like some of those old 80s cartoons, you picture it's like 3 guys in a synthesizer in somebody's like closet, just with like a 3-track mixer or something. And that one, it's like they might have had like an orchestra.
I mean, even back then, they probably could have afforded it.
Well, yeah. Jim, any thoughts on Tales of Ducks?
So I like the theme song. I think some of the visuals were better than that theme song, actually. And Brandon mentioned Chip and Dale earlier. I know those are kind of shows both by Disney at a similar time. I think the Chip and Dale song actually was better. The show wasn't better, but I think the song, the musicality of the show was better.
Well, at least we can all agree you're wrong about that.
I'm not entirely sure. I might have switched those around if DuckTales had been on my list in the first place.
Somebody's sad.
Extra commentary. I appreciate that.
He's disappointed in you saying Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers was better than
Yeah,
DuckTales.
I'm sure. I'm sure the 6-month-year-old really cares about that.
Well, in real life, a 6-month-old would totally care about that, but maybe dog not so much. Jim, what is your number 3?
Sleeper pick, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I don't think you guys were really watchers of that, but again, it's another show. Watcher, and because it's a Marvel property. Get it? I like that. Yeah.
Get it? Yeah.
Yeah. Another show where they used a lot of the music in the episode itself, and they had pretty suspenseful music in the show. And it's His Amazing Friends. I mean, they're amazing. They're friends. So
I hate to quibble, but Spider-Man was amazing, but Jem was truly, truly, truly amazing. So I think Jem has this round.
Was she also spectacular?
No, but she was truly, truly, truly amazing.
I see. Very, very, very.
Truly, truly, truly.
But I have found that Spider-Man can be superior.
Well, sometimes.
Or ultimate.
Slam dunk.
Maybe penultimate. That means second best. Sorry.
That's been a popular word in my house for the last month.
I won't ask what the context of that is.
Every sort of context you can imagine, people are just throwing it in.
By the way, we did an Oscar show a little bit ago, and one of the guys, I think it was the guy who's nominated for, I'm not going to say which one it was, but he went on stage and he was like, "It's funny, in the mouth of a 17-year-old girl, Oscar nominated can be kind of an insult." And because he had been nominated before, and he was like, his daughter had said, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother the Oscar nominated filmmaker." And he's like, "Well, now I'm not Oscar nominated anymore." Yeah, penultimate is not probably a great, nobody wants to have a nickname penultimate man.
That's probably his last name. Penn and Teller.
No, I like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I didn't watch a lot of it, but that's where we got Firestar. I should have just said Firestar. I wasn't sure if that was right, but I should have just said that confidently and just kind of let the chips fall where they may.
We can go back and redo it.
No, because I am not going to do that. I am not going to. I would rather look like an idiot than do literally 5 minutes more editing work.
Me too.
So that's where you know where I stand. So my number 3 is one that nobody watched and we barely talked about, but it has a great theme, and that is Silverhawks. Silverhawks has one of those great action, like those themes where you feel like you have to be running when it's going on, because there's talking about action that's happening. They're going here and doing the thing and flying, and they turn into silver birds for reasons which are not clear, and it's really, really good 80s theme. I don't have any idea what it's about. It's people and they're birds sometimes, but they're metal birds.
There's a lot of action, and the animation of that intro is fantastic.
It is.
It's a little anime style. It looks really good. Some of the lyrics I thought were kind of bonkers. Like, I think they talked about them having the Silverhawks being part metal and part real. Like, metal, not real. Like, I'm confused, but okay.
Brandon is half metal, not full metal.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird ass theme, but it's very rock and roll, and it's very 80s, and I don't know. And they're all metal. That's so weird because it's a bizarre concept.
They're not all metal. They're mostly metal, and they're part real.
And they're part real.
Attention?
They're part
real.
Human bird. So they're like 70% metal, 15% human, and 15% bird, which does not go well on a poster.
Right. 10% part unreal.
I don't know. Brandon and Kale, did you ever watch Silverhawks when it was on?
Mm-mm.
It was I can't say it was because I never watched the show. I know I think I had one toy, or I saw the toys, because the toys were very impressive too, because they had like big silver wings, and they were just like, there was a lot of silver in that show. Silverhawks, silver in the title was the correct thing to put there because there was a lot of silver.
Toys were very shiny. Very shiny.
Super shiny.
I just can't help it when you say Silverhawk. It makes me think of middle-aged bachelor.
And Lady Hawk.
Oh, Silverhawk, I got you.
Now, Lady Hawk makes me think of something entirely different.
Silver Fox.
Was Rutger Hauer in Lady Hawk?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Matthew Broderick too.
R.I.P. Rutger Hauer.
And
legend.
Was Bo
Huge
Derek
legend.
in that too? I mean, it's been like 35, 40 years since I saw that.
I was going to say it's been a lot more than 35 years since the movie came out. Well, maybe not.
Does anyone know who the female?
I'll look at you guys
was?
vamp. I'll look it up.
All right. I think it was Bo Derek, but I could be wrong.
I could easily do an episode about like the top 5 Rutger Hauer movies.
Yeah, but you probably couldn't do top 6.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of them. He's been in with quite a few female casts too. Kim Cattrall was in one. I mean, he was in briefly was in Sin City.
He was in Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah.
He was also in the one where he hunts Ice-T. That movie had a great cast too.
Surviving the Game, yeah.
Surviving the Game. That's right. I do not see Bo Derek. I think you are thinking of Michelle Pfeiffer.
It is Michelle Pfeiffer.
And confusing Bo Derek and Michelle Pfeiffer does a disservice to Michelle Pfeiffer, I think. I'm just saying, I was like 12 years old when I saw Batman Returns, and for conservatives that say you don't understand your sexuality at 10 or 12 years old, you do. Because I saw Batman Returns and I knew exactly what sexuality I was. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't understand, but I knew I was watching Batman Returns and being like, I think that's what I'm going to want to be with.
I think I understand.
This is a complete digression, but
Alfred Molina in it.
Really?
Yeah,
Do
he
not know how
played
to-
Cesar. I always find it funny to go back and look at things and actors who just like played bit parts in movies that you never would have expected them in. All right, now I've totally lost track of where we are. Oh, Silverhawks, obviously. Of course, talking Silverhawks.
Obviously,
I don't know.
Silverhawks, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something with the like each decade has its own like weird thing, and I feel like Silverhawks and Brave Star is not on my list. I think it's kind of a fun theme song, but it didn't quite make the cut. Just like weird shit, like, and you couldn't explain it to somebody that wasn't living in that era, because it doesn't make any sense. And yeah,
So-
Brave Star.
One of the other things that kind of struck me going back through and watching and listening to some of the theme songs is how many of the cartoons built off of one another. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Cops has very similar animation and maybe similar action figures to Rescue Heroes, made like 20 years later. A lot of the cartoons that I liked earlier in the 80s that you guys weren't familiar with were definitely seemed like they were He-Man precursors. And so there were elements of the show that were very similar. I don't know. I feel like
Well, I mean, it's probably a lot of the same anime. I'm sure the animator community wasn't enormous. Like,
Right.
I'm sure there was probably a relatively few number of people doing a hell of a lot of work in that period. I mean, the voice acting community is kind of the same way at that time, where you had this kind of small pool, relatively small pool of people just doing, voice acting on 7 different series at a time. And I'm sure with the animators, it was probably similar. We should try and get I'm going to see if we can't get an animator on. I mean, we know comic book people, and we could probably get an animator on. It'd be interesting to talk about that. Anyway, I'm done talking about Silverhawks because I don't know why we talked about Silverhawks this long, but I thought it was a great thing. Kale, what is your numero dos?
Well, my number 2 has already been mentioned, Transformers.
Silverhawks.
So I'm going to switch that out with something else.
I thought you were going to say humanoids.
The robot voice, where it sounds like somebody went to and got one of those voice changer things from Spencer Gifts and Transformers. No, so I'm going to use one of my honorable mentions here, and I'm going to throw Robotech up there in number 2. The reason I like Robotech is because it's very simple. There's one line in it, Robotech. That's the only line that's in it. But
Sir, we have some robos and we have some tech. What should we do?
But the reason I like it is because it very much reminds me of the space opera type music like you would hear in Star Wars and other things of that nature. It's very orchestral.
I'm just personally offended that you had said space opera. I mentioned Star Wars and didn't mention Star Trek, but it's fine.
Well, it's more of a space miniseries. No, not a miniseries. A space.
Right. It's not an opera.
A
not
space
an opera.
race.
It's a series. It's more like a.
Serial.
It's a It's a series. It's not a space opera.
I never watched it. I
Not as
knew of
whimsical.
Robotech, but
So I will agree with the theme. I thought it didn't quite make my list or even honorable mention, but I did think the theme definitely had militaristic and space effective musical composition. It really evoked the show. I thought it was pretty good musically.
85 episodes over 3 seasons. So not bad.
Yeah, I don't think I know this one either.
I mean, I know the show. I don't know the theme song particularly well, but I know the show.
Just think of the.
I don't know the
music-
show particularly well either, I guess. But I mean,
I'm
I know of it. It's very anime. It's very like robots and stuff.
or like Kroll,
Oh,
or
Kroll. Love Kroll.
something along those lines.
The glaive is the dumbest weapon, but also I wanted a glaive so bad when I was a
Awesome.
kid.
Didn't everybody want a glaive?
It's like because he controlled the glaive with his hand. That's why I did. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
I was picturing Illidan. Illidan's glaives are pretty cool.
Different genre.
All right, Brandon, what is your number 2?
Well, I put Thundercats at number 2. I love the show. I love the intro. Just everything about it I thought was really good. And while I wouldn't say it was quite as catchy as something like Inspector Gadget, I would say I got as excited for the show hearing the intro as I did for, like the X-Men theme.
It's very much one of those shows, and I mentioned it for an earlier show, where you feel like you should be running during the credits. Like it's like Thundercats, and like you should be like out, like and have like the anime lines that are like going by.
All right.
Maybe do the Naruto run.
It is I will say it's very energetic. It almost made the cut. The reason why it didn't make my top 5 is because they say thunder way too many times. Like it's thunder.
But he says that when he's doing the sword.
Thunder cats. Oh. Thunder.
Yeah.
Cats. Anyway.
Give me sight beyond sight.
The music's pretty good though. I will say that.
That's a good one. I love their car. So one of the things that bothers me in a lot of, especially like modern action movies, is oftentimes nothing seems to have weight. And I think that's a big problem. Like all fight scenes just appear like people sort of spinning around each other, whatever. And I remember their car is this just giant monstrosity with paws. I don't know why their car would have to have paws. That doesn't really make any sense, but it's fine. But every so often it would get turned over and it would make these terrible, like metal hitting rock sounds. And it's just like that's sort of the sensation of weight. And I think comparing 80s cartoons to modern action movies maybe is an odd comparison, but yeah, I think it feel well, like when their car got turned over, it felt like, oh shit, they're never going to be able to turn that thing back over. That weighs like 600,000 pounds.
They're already done. They drove it once.
They're going to have to get like all the Thundercats from Thundara to come down just to turn the damn thing over. And they're all presumably dead. So yeah that car is just, they're all dead. Where it is.
They need a Thundercopter come and lift it up.
But then it would crash and be like,
Thunder tow truck.
Give me torque beyond torque.
I like that. But you know why they can't have a Thundercopter? Because it crash landed and they only had so many resources. They had enough for a car and a secret base, and that was it. More
By the way,
stuff.
One thing I don't think we mentioned when we were doing the episode, their base was awesome. It didn't make any sense why anybody would build a base like that. It's a ridiculous construction style, but it is awesome. It is an awesome base.
If you're going to do a crossover, like Kale was talking about crossover characters in our copyright episode, I was just picturing Vin Diesel's character from
Pitch Black.
Yeah.
I'll mention the one good one out of that whole franchise.
I kind of like the one with the Death Eaters or whatever they were. I mean,
yeah, but it was basically them trying to just kind of do Dune light. There was a lot. I feel like I didn't realize it because I hadn't read Dune at the time, but like having read it and watched all the movies, now I go back and I'm like, there's a lot of Dune in that.
I really like whoever did the visual design. I thought did a nice job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a good movie, but no. Pitch Black was like perfect. I think that movie is just
the first one's really good.
It is, you might call pitch perfect because it's pitch black. So it's fuck you guys. Anyway, Jim, what's your number?
It's a homonym.
Jim, what's your number 2?
It was Inspector Gadget. So I'm going to do one of my honorable mentions here, and I am going to go with Super Mario Brothers, which is a show that I did not watch, but I was really impressed with the theme song when I saw it today. It's a rap, and it's got 2 guys dressed up as, I mean, it's an animated cartoon, but
no, it doesn't have 2 guys. It has Captain Lou Albano dressed up as Mario.
I stand corrected. and it's
another
kind
guy.
of crazy. You have to see it to believe it. It kind of intermeshes bad 80s rap with a lot of sounds from the video game, and it's kind of a good hot mess.
Yeah, it's very much the Fat Boys meet 8-bit,
Sure.
8-bit video gaming.
Yeah.
The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. And also there's a rap at the end where Captain Lou Albano does a rap, which is great, called Do the Mario. Doing the Mario is primarily just kind of doing this, but
I think
doing
I
the Mario
vaguely
doesn't come
remember
too
the
difficult.
end there.
I thought it was when you jumped up and smashed your head into some bricks.
Well, with Captain Lou, he'd probably be equally comfortable doing that.
I would recommend not doing the Mario then.
Just
Ow!
jump on turtles.
The Mario sucks.
Stomping on turtles. That's terrible.
No, I love that. Actually, I liked the Legend of Zelda one too, and they were kind of along the same time. And the Legend of Zelda was on Super Mario Brothers sometimes as well. So
I recall that you have mentioned that you would like to have the theme song from Zelda playing at opportune times in your real life when you walk into places.
Well, so there's a whole other thing of great video game theme songs, and Legend of Zelda is a great video game theme song. I'm not going to say it's the greatest because we're not doing that episode right now, but it is a very good one. So on to me for my number 2, continuing with shows that apparently only I watched, and this show I actually did watch. I don't know if I'd say I watched it regularly, but I did watch it a fair amount, and that is Denver, the Last Dinosaur, which had an absolutely bananas good, like 1980s rock, like not 1980s metal, but like 1980s rock theme song, where again, like it's like they actually hired a real rock band to write a song for a video game, and it's just great because he's Denver, the Last Dinosaur. He's my friend and a whole lot more. I don't know. I loved it. In fact, when I was going through and editing our episodes, that was one of the ones I had the hardest time figuring out what I wanted to put in because, the way YouTube is, which is perfect, of course. If you include too much of something, they can, demonetize you, get mad at you, whatever. And I just wanted to include the whole theme song, but I couldn't. So I only had to include a little bit. It's a great theme. It's fun. Didn't you guys watch it? I think you guys were probably a little too old for Denver.
Did not watch.
I never watched it, but even I know some of the theme song.
Kale, my last Denver hope.
Denver, the last dinosaur. He's not best friend. Yeah, I listened to that today as well too, and it is on my honorable mentions list because, like you said, it's one of those ones where they put some serious effort into that. So, yeah, they deserve a spot.
All right. I don't think anybody else has anything to say about Denver, and I don't really have anything to say about the show. I just loved the theme song when I was a kid. You could kind of rock out to it a little. So, Kale, excuse me. Kale, do you have any other honorable mentions that you would like to talk about at this point before we move on to our...
My number 1's already been mentioned, so I'm going to have to replace it with an honorable mention.
Okay, then talk about any honorable mentions that you have that you're not going to replace into your number 1 spot.
Okay.
It's very complicated.
That is complicated.
Then I'm going to lead off.
Kale, you're very close to your microphone right now.
Very loud all of a sudden.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm going to just lead off here. I'm going to save the one I was going to throw in there. And just throw out, specifically Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. That one is a show that I've never seen. I didn't even know it was a thing. But I listened to the theme song, and it's another one of those rockin' 80s themes where somebody hired a band, I think, or something to come in and do it. But it was just, I don't know, maybe I'm just being childish or whatever, that there's a bit of euphemism in it, but it's a really well put together song. as far as others though that didn't make my top 5, Dinosaurs, Pole Position, Fantastic Max.
Oh, so we didn't talk about Pole Position again. That confuses me. I can't, because I watched Pole Position. I thought that, and I thought it had a good theme. I just totally forgot about it.
Alvin and the Chipmunks. I know Mike likes Muppet Babies. That's probably your number 1, but I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
Oh, we'll have to see, won't we?
Good.
By the way, narrator for Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs was Peter Cullen. Because again, in the 1980s, there was like 35 people doing voices for 112 different cartoons. And
I swear, the intro for Dinosaurs, the voice, it sounds like the guy that does Optimus Prime, but I don't think it is.
Peter Cullen.
It does sound like him. He
also does the voiceover at the beginning of the
Dinosaurs.
Voltron cartoon.
Yeah, I noticed that today when I was listening to
that. Hold on, I'm just gonna look. So Dinosaurs, 1987. I'm just checking. It doesn't look like anybody I know right offhand. But also the credits for those shows oftentimes are a little flawed. They don't include everybody. Brandon, do you have any honorable mentions before we get to your number 1?
I don't have any particular honorable mentions, but it does make me wonder if there is, leaving aside the decade, what is your number 1 theme song for a cartoon television show?
I mean, that's easy for me, but
it is easy for me too. It's Cowboy Bebop.
No, it's X-Men. Sorry. You were close though.
Nice try.
Jim, honorable mentions before we get to your number 1.
All right. I have some kind of they don't really have any sort of theme. So I did not watch Gummy Bears, but I heard the theme today and it's a solid song. So
I feel like Gummy Bears crawled so that Ducktales could run.
Interesting. And I feel like the Disney show that made my list of considerations, that was the most current one, probably was the best one of all, Winnie the Pooh. And I think you guys did not watch Winnie the Pooh, but it's a solid song.
More like Winnie the Who.
Exactly. That was really a good show. Really was.
I did watch it.
Jim, I think what you meant to say is that was a really good joke.
Very good. On point. I have an off-ball one of a show that I have never even heard of. I don't even think it made any of the lists that we looked at. Ulysses 31.
God damn it.
So the only reason why I watched it is the comment that was underneath the video said, "Why is there a Jesus with a lightsaber in this intro?"
With a lightsaber.
And I'm really impressed that they rhymed Ulysses with galaxies.
It's a good song.
It was
it really is. If you listen to it, it's a good song.
Okay,
so the other thing that
just briefly,
I will just say the other thing that really touched me is when I watched the video, they had a text over the video saying something about people that liked the show trying to restore it, and I just thought that was really touching, that there were people out there like this was their show and they wanted to preserve it.
So the description is to return home and restore his cursed crew, a great hero of space and his child companions, a little weird, but okay, must find the kingdom of Hades against all evil opposition. I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah, and the
cast from
Earth.
It's
a guy and a bunch of kids from space trying to go to Hades?
Well, his kid is there.
Yeah, because they can't get to Earth. The way to Earth has been lost. Because the
so Ulysses is going on a big journey.
Yeah.
He's
probably Battlestar Galactica.
He's going to have to tie himself to the mast of the spaceship and plug his ears and run by the space
I feel
Then when
like
he gets back to hell, he'll kill all the suitors.
that description is basically Battlestar Galactica. I mean, pretty much.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm going to watch it.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, Battlestar Galactica was pretty solid.
Now I got to change my
Which one, though? The new one or the old one?
The old one.
I hope you're happy.
So I have one final honorable mention, and it's only an honorable mention because it's cheating. The New Adventures of Johnny Quest, and they use the old theme song, which, Brandon, is the best cartoon theme song of all time.
Okay.
Johnny who?
Exactly.
No, my wife actually loves Johnny Quest.
Too far ahead of its time.
I would put Aqua Teen Hunger Force up there.
It's a little late, I think.
Wasn't in the 80s.
That was
I know,
that
I'm
was
saying it's
that was
best
all of my
cartoon.
honorable mentions.
So I have two categories of honorable mentions, but I have one in one and two in the other. The first one is honorable mentions that I could not put up there because they were basically just the original theme songs. And in that is Beetlejuice and the Real Ghostbusters. Great theme songs, but it's just the theme song from the movie they put in the cartoon. I can't give credit for that. I'm sorry.
I absolutely agree.
And the other one I was going to mention is, in fact, also the Gummy Bears, because the Gummy Bears theme song is badass. And I'm pretty sure it's before DuckTales, isn't it? I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's where I fall down on my honorable mentions. So that means Kale. Number one.
Oh, you already took Thundercats, and now you just took a giant crap on Ulysses 31.
I can't believe that somebody else watched Ulysses 31. How did you even know about it?
I found it.
By all means, keep Ulysses 31.
Tell us more about Ulysses 31. What did you get out of it?
By the way, Kale, just briefly, Gummy Bears did come 2 years before DuckTales. So yes, Gummy Bears crawled so the DuckTales could run. Kale, Ulysses 31, go.
It's like 4.5 minutes long, which I think is like the longest song of all of them. And it just goes on. And it's one of those ones where they just tell the story of what's going on.
It is the 31st century. Ulysses killed the giant Cyclops when he rescued the children and his son Telemachus. But the ancient gods of Olympus are angry and threaten a terrible revenge.
There's like a big voiceover part, and then there's the actual song.
Ulysses, soaring through all the galaxies.
I suspect you aren't going to get a copyright violation for including as much of that as you want to.
Yeah.
Well, there's nobody wrestling in it, so it should be fine.
Right.
It's just it's such an odd cartoon.
I just looked it up. I recognize some of the artwork on it.
I mean, he does look like Space Jesus when somebody points that. He's like, what's with the cape? Why are you wearing a cape? Nobody wears capes.
Doing space.
You just think that because you haven't been to space.
It's like, another one of those deals where they hired a band to come in.
Hired a band to come in and put on capes.
What are we here for? Just put on the cape and shut up.
Exactly.
Damn, I was gonna have to replace it. I was thinking, because I had a couple other honorable mentions, but
Simpsons.
Well, I was gonna say Defenders of the Earth and Beetlejuice, but
Well, I'll tell you, at least the first episode is available on YouTube.
All of it is.
Is it all?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe one of these days we'll do an episode entirely dedicated to Ulysses 31 and discussion about its merits and demerits and what we think about Space Jesus.
Maybe we should do an MST3K and watch it and comment on it.
That'd be fun.
I will have to figure out the tech of that, but we could probably figure something out. All right. So Brandon, what is your number one?
I mean, I know it was already mentioned, but I'm going to stick with Transformers. It was my favorite show as a kid. It's my favorite theme song. It's still an amazing theme song. They use different theme songs kind of for the animated movie, but it was still essentially the same thing. I don't know. And the more than meets the eye thing is included in almost every subsequent series too. I don't know. To me, it's as iconic as you can get.
No, it's very good. It's very good. Again, it didn't make my list, but I'm kind of doing a weird list. I love the storytelling without necessarily doing direct voiceover, which is probably the one problem I have with G.I. Joe. But it's great. It was a great cartoon, great theme, great everything.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Sorry.
Well, you already talked about Transformers. I guess we kind of talked about that one, but it's fine. Yes, it was great theme song, great cartoon. Jim, I wait with bated breath because I have no idea what could possibly be.
What could it possibly be? Yeah, it's Thunder.
I am filled with shock.
You're right. I tried to mix it up with the background.
With shock.
Anyway, it's great orchestral music.
Kale is opening Thunder Thighs as we speak. I can feel him opening Thunder Thighs.
I'm doing it.
So they like a lot of the ones I chose, they used a lot of the music in the episodes. Thunder Thighs, those are fantastic.
Thunder Thighs.
And it's great orchestral music. They've got great actual instruments playing the music. It's some of it's pretty intense. It's good stuff. Everything Thunder did was art, and thanks in part to Jack Kirby being a contributor.
The only problem with Thunder, of course, is that we got a copyright hit for me putting too much of Thunder's theme in. So
it was probably because of the thighs.
Too much of Thunder's thighs.
You should get your head out of Thunder's butt.
That's his butt.
I'm in front of whatever's going on back there, so you don't worry about it.
In this case, Kale's head is essentially operating as a cod piece.
There you go.
Kale's little pieces of paper. Sorry. So I'm going to go on to my number one, and it would have to be a really big thing. The people that made number one on my list would have to do something like, I don't know, defend the earth, such as the Defenders of the Earth, which is, in my mind, the pinnacle of 80s cartoon theme songs. It does storytelling. It repackages old heroes. It has 80s rock band. It is the amalgamation of all that 80s cartoon themes can be. It literally has like sections of the theme song that talk about each one of the heroes. And it has a dude who would be at home on stage with Motley Crue doing the vocals. Defenders of the Earth is a perfect theme song.
So can you remind us what that cartoon is about?
I was going to quote the theme song, but I can't actually remember the lyrics exactly. It is about Flash Gordon and the Phantom and Mandrake, the magician. By the way, question about that show. Was it confusing that one of the heroes was Mandrake the magician and one of the villains was Ming the Merciless?
No.
Because I feel like if you have a battle between Mandrake the magician and Ming the Merciless, people are going to get a little confused. Or they're going to assume they're all Marvel characters.
Was the Phantom played by Billy Zane?
I believe he was a little bit young at the time. No, I love it. It was such a great theme. It just combined all the things that was great about 80s themes. And it's cheesy, of course, but I feel like it has to be cheesy. If the theme song isn't cheesy, I think it's immediately, it can't be nominated.
I like how they give like a little This is what this guy does.
That's what I'm saying. It's storytelling. It's storytelling through song. Also, at the end, where they're just like, also, there's 4 kids. There's 8 of them. And like the kids have no personality at all. It's just like, and 4 become 8 because there's 4 kids.
So I want to know how I've never watched this cartoon before. I thought when we were reviewing
I was
it,
going to say, Jim, I feel like this cartoon is like right up your alley.
absolutely, it looks like a complete hot mess. I thought when you were describing it before, like it was like one of the cartoon hours where they had Flash Gordon.
Oh, no. It's
And
like
then
they're
they had
together. Like
the
it's like a
Phantom.
team show.
Right. And I don't understand.
And
Also,
in fact, I've watched the first episode of the show, and Flash Gordon crash lands in Mandrake the Magician's like yard.
well, that makes perfect
Get
sense.
off my yard.
Exactly.
Also,
That's house.
why is Ming green?
Because sometimes he's just green. I feel
I
I
wouldn't
feel
even-
like sometimes shows should do that more often where like something's wrong and they're just like, yeah, because that's just the way it is now.
As far as catchy goes, where would you place Captain Planet?
So I have a weird relationship with Captain Planet in that it was always the impediment to good cartoons. And so I developed a deep hatred for that show. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad. It very well might be a good theme, but I deeply despised that show because I felt like it was keeping me from shows that I wanted to watch.
So I feel like I need to know more about Defenders of the Earth. Like,
No, you don't.
how did they end up with the other characters? Like, who was Mandrake the Magician and Luther, whatever the other?
So Lothar, I think, works for Mandrake. And so I get how Mandrake and Lothar and not Flash Thompson, Jesus, Flash Gordon all hook up. I'm not sure how they hook up with the Phantom. That's not clear, but I'm assuming because evil.
Right. I just don't understand how they.
Evil.
But you have to admit
Okay,
that is a banging theme song.
It's a real banger.
Let's just add in 4 kids. Because why not?
Well, right. That's the funniest part to me. It's just like, also, these kids. That's the weird thing about that. Like, you had to add kids into the shows.
Well, why not 1 kid or 2 kids? Why does there have to be like 1 kid for each adult?
Because each
Well,
one
they
gets
used
their
to-
own kid, which sounds like the creepiest thing I've ever said in my life.
Right.
They each get their own.
What is this, Epstein's Island?
Otherwise, they would have to share.
Oh, all right. So not sure where to go from that.
We're getting way off track here.
You should just cut the last 5 minutes.
It's because you made us watch Defenders of the Earth video.
Fenders.
Of the Earth.
Of the
Apparently, the lyrics were written by Stan Lee.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Are you
That
kidding
makes
me?
total sense. Have you ever like thought something like somebody said something you never thought of, but the second they say it, you're like, that's the truest thing that has ever been said.
Yep.
Because those are the exact lyrics that Stan Lee would write.
Well, he is a great songwriter.
Well, he's not that, but
Unfortunately, not well known for it. They mostly talk about his comic book stuff, but I mean, he wrote a lot of great songs.
he wrote comic books. All right. I think we've probably talked about cartoons from the 80s about as much as we feel like doing for, the foreseeable future until we do our extended episode on Ulysses 31, which is coming very, very soon. And by very soon, I mean sometime between now and 10,000 years from now. So maybe sometime. I think it'd be interesting. But that being said, Kale, do you have any closing thoughts on our 80s cartoon themes?
I hope we all and everyone watching enjoyed doing this, and I'm very happy to not talk about 80s cartoons for a while.
We can put 80s cartoons in the bin with Dune for something that we just won't discuss for a while.
Don't look directly at it.
It's also going in the bin of things that I will watch if I can't sleep at night.
80s cartoons.
And
Thrilling
Dune.
endorsement. Brandon, final thoughts.
No, this is a good walk down memory lane, but I am definitely happy to turn off that path and never see it again.
All right, and Jim.
I just want to watch some cartoons and stop talking about them.
Let's
Like
do that.
Aqua Teen.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good drink and have a good day.